Okay, Reverend Crystal Cox here, reading the Awakener. We're on page 59. bbgoddesschurch@gmail.com to donate to our church. Okay, page 59, the 3 waves of ascension. Also, Dolores Cannon's information, if you haven't read it, just soak it all up. It's amazing. Okay, the 3 waves of ascension. A few years ago, some channeled material was presented to the light force on Earth, mainly as audio tapes from the USA by Eric Klein. These channelings talked of 3 waves of ascension. So reminds me of the Dolores Cannon stuff. It says clearly in the first few tapes that this was to be a new part of the plan. The first 5 of these channeled tapes from the Ascended Masters were badly recorded and difficult to hear. This may have been because this information was unexpected and time was needed technically to set up to record clearly. These crackling tapes found their way around the world, copied again and again. These wonderful words were listened to by individuals and groups across the world. The quality didn't seem to matter as the excitement grew and a great awakening took place. You will recall that the original plan states that each missionary will ascend when their individual mission is completed, and this plan remains. This channeling offering 3 waves of ascension introduced a new concept into the original plan. This said that if individual lightworkers could clear enough of the dense energies in their lower subtle bodies, they could be assisted to a higher frequency of light, attaining ascension. The offer included assistance with raising the physical body as well as the other lower body forms. Although not given in terms of percentage, in order for a light worker to be in a position to handle the incredible change involved in this shift, even allowing for the fact that they may well have done this before, they still needed to have already reached a minimum 60% clearance of their lower bodies in order to be assisted. Universal law requires that they also needed to have already completed about 60% of their mission, but in the main this was already achieved. The proposal was that those who reached the stage of clearing could be lifted up into one of the light spaceships of the Ashtar Command. This is one of the space fleets serving Earth. Commander Ashtar, that's A-S-H-T-A-R, most of my listeners or followers are familiar with that, and some other commanders have imposters operating in lower dimensions claiming to be them. Whilst on the ships, the lightworkers could become re-familiarized with their higher level abilities. It was estimated that this adjustment would take from several days up to a couple of weeks. It was hoped that anyone choosing this opportunity would be willing to return to Earth to complete their mission as a master with full abilities. Those choosing this option could be placed back on Earth, either in the same family and location, or, if it suited them, they could be placed anywhere on the planet where they could best serve. It was said that it was possible for those who wanted to go back to the same location on Earth to return in the same moment in time of their departure. This could happen even though they may have been on board the ships for several weeks. It was made clear that children, pets, or anyone that one was responsible for would be taken on board at the same moment. It was said that if a light worker chose not to return to the same location but wished to serve elsewhere on the planet, there were ways to inform their immediate family that they were all right. This was in order to prevent distress. That ain't the thing. There were 3 waves of energy permitted by divine dispensation that were to be used to assist this to occur. As an act of grace, these waves would allow anyone who is ready to be assisted to completion of their ascension. The timing of these was unknown and no dates were given. There were 2 reasons for this. One was the nature of free will and choice of the light force, which can alter everything. The other was that this dispensation was coming from a higher source than the realms of the ascended masters who were bringing forth the channeled information. The ascended masters said that whilst they felt that the first wave was not far off, their concept of time differed from ours. It was suggested that it would mainly be star seeds that would go on the first wave, plus any light force that could handle the initial DNA changes. Many people really did very well, and a great deal of change took place. As the months went by and the first wave still hadn't been announced, the ability of some to maintain their spiritual viewpoint, remain enthusiastic, and stay focused on the light began to waver a little. This was all part of the testing. Some people kept dropping back into old third density patterns, causing dense energy to shift back in around them again. The staying power and discipline involved to achieve the cleansing required a lot of faith and trust. Some people did some of the cleansing work and then sat back to wait, believing that the rest was all going to be done for them. Others accepted lower level channelings and negative intervention, encouraging them to starve themselves in order to purify their bodies. Although many of the light force very much wanted to go on this program, some found it difficult to hang on to the discipline of constantly releasing their negative thoughts, confusions, judgments, and third dimensional belief patterns to meet the required percentage of clearing needed to carry out this program. Many failed to discern the differing energies involved in channeled material, and by believing everything allowed confusion to enter their world. All these various thought patterns affect your ability to connect to the source and divine flow, which is necessary if you want to raise your vibration into very high levels. It is not difficult to do these things, but after being incarnate in this density for a long time, it can certainly take a bit of getting used to acting as spirit again. Unless one has reached a certain level, the shock of a higher dimensional shift of reality can be quite traumatic, even fatal to the physical form. To attain mastership really needs the discipline to stop the creation of negative patterns. There's that word discipline again, which so many seem to be getting. And they're thinking it's discipline to follow the Word of God in the Bible, but it's discipline to follow the Word of your higher self and your truth. And pay attention, discipline to pay attention to every thought, every program, identify every belief. Negative thoughts need to be canceled and transmuted immediately because they affect all your energies and auric field. Discernment and intuition need to be used. One also needs discipline to ensure one doesn't drop back into third dimensional reality, and to avoid wallowing in judgment, emotion, or thoughts of what should and must be done. These things rule much of our lives and pull us from our inherent spiritual intuition and guidance. One may see someone who is very keen to ascend and who wants to serve humanity, who does a lot of clearing and cleansing exercises, and then picks up a newspaper, and in the next minute they're in a discussion with a friend about how terrible it all is. They have abandoned the spiritual perspective and have decided to view the situation from a third dimensional reality. One can maintain a spiritual viewpoint and still feel a great love and compassion without having to buy into the very limited perspective of the third dimension. In order to see the greater picture, simply come into the heart. Thus viewed, all becomes visible in the pure perfection that it truly is. If you cannot see the divine perfection in any situation, you haven't looked high enough. Every situation. The divine perfection of every situation. Some people held the focus and the discipline required. However, it was seen from the higher realms that it was not going to be possible for the mass physical ascension that had been proposed, transmuting the physical body. So the first wave, physical ascension, was changed to a spiritual ascension. Even though not enough clearing had been done to allow a physical ascension, a major awakening and increase in awareness and vibration had occurred among the light force. Because of this major step forward, there was a unanimous decision made by the I Am presence and the incarnated starseed. This was that it would be more beneficial to individual evolution not to use the assistance of the light chip, which initially had been offered to assist a physical ascension, so they're just going to take us up in the ships, but simply to use the assistance while remaining on Earth. Of the special waves of energy offered, there are just a few exceptions. So yeah, we could have just went up in the ships, up, away, and gone, or we can just have the ships be there and then help us to get to that next level. The first wave occurred through May of 1994, and those people who had held their focus of light and cleared their lower bodies of dense energy to the degree needed attained their spiritual ascension. This would have included a tremendous feeling of lightness and fineness. Most would remain aware they had attained a spiritual ascension from the benefits and abilities obtained. This could be withheld or withdrawn if there was any evidence that the person was dropping back into negative thought forms. Anyone using the power of God needs to be in a place of spirit and very positive in their thought and actions. However, once the state is attained, it is not lost, even if it appears to be. Spiritual ascension could be called the first stage ascension. It is here one makes a conscious union with the I Am presence and adopts the light body. From here, the assimilation and adjustment to operating with the light body takes place and new higher abilities become apparent as the I Am merges more and more with you. If your discipline remains intact and the intuition is followed, you may find you want to eat only lighter foods and you will have lots of energy. If you continue clearing, remain committed to the process, and are one of those who wish to transmute the physical body into light, you may find that your full ascension could take place on the second wave. Also understand that no one ever needs to wait for a wave in order to ascend. Any individual can ascend whenever they reach a space that permits this to occur. It has always been so. Some lightworkers felt let down about the first wave and were quick to blame the ascended realms for the changes to the ascension waves. But in truth, it was the lightworkers in combination with their I Am presence who made the changes. Free will and choice are great gifts and often produce quite different realities from those anticipated as the most probable occurrence. Ascension will never be something that is done to you. It is a causative process of self-mastery. Don't get into a panic about these waves. They are only one option. Trust in divine order that you will be in the right place at the right time. The original plan allows for your ascension. Okay, we're leaving off on page 63. Goddess bless you. Have a beautiful day.